Hey everybody, it's Leeroy from Leeroy Gaming, and in today's Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader video, I'm going to be giving you my companion review part 2. If you didn't see my review of the first 5 characters, make sure to check out the video. It should be popping up in the upper right hand corner. And now we're going to be looking at 6 through 10. So featured today is going to be Heinrix. We're going to have Jay. Thou who I cannot pronounce, Yrliet. Please correct me a million ways in comments as you have before. Big Papa Pump Ulfar. And Marazhai, something like that. Marazhai, the Druki. So, quick disclaimer, the way I'm going to review. Again, I haven't min-maxed all the characters. There's a certain level of subjectivity, of course, in my review on these elements, but it doesn't take a genius to identify some features as overpowered, some less powerful. I will be making some future videos where I'm going to be showing how you can combo some extremely overpowered combinations. I also am not factoring in other subjective elements, like you may love a character because you want to romance them, or you just like their story or their voice acting. I'm trying to minimize that element in my review. Although, let's be honest, Ulfar is really amazing. But otherwise, just mainly trying to focus on combat performance for the most part in this video. I will be making other videos in the future with specific builds that are going to be much more min-maxed. Now, with that all out of the way, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like. If you want to help with the almighty algorithm, please drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on the video. Or if you have any questions, do drop them below and I'll do my best to answer them. Now, without further ado, let's go and check out companion reviews for number 6 through 10. All right, guys, we are starting with good old Heinrix, Mr. Dogmatic, Mr. Imperialis. This is Mr. Third Reich, pretty much. He will hunt down Xenos and exterminate with extreme prejudice. It's funny that some people think these guys are the good guys, and I guess if you're pro-human and anti-everything else, they're good guys. But man, this shows you why Warhammer 40k is so messed up. For the poster childs to be quite evil in their own ways, but I digress. How effective is he in combat? What is he like? Now, I do want to point out, he is some of these later companions, you cannot pick their archetypes. They come preloaded. For me, I still had that option to choose this. Again, I don't know if that was a bug or not, but I did play him as a warrior vanguard. But a little different than some other warrior vanguards, unlike Abelard, who I play him as a pure warrior vanguard. He's going to be much more of a caster psyker. And that's because of the features that he begins with. So I do want to point out for him, he does start with Melta weapon proficiencies, I do believe. Big thing for him is he's a sanctioned psyker biomancer. Biomancy is support magic. Very, very powerful. Good healing. Good support. Also do note, for reasons, I did pick up No Heresy later on, but that basically nerfed his ability to have lower warp or Xenos. There's a good chance you probably don't want to do this. Please ignore this for most builds, because you do start with base skill lower Xenos and advanced skill lower Xenos. He really is meant to be kind of a Xenos specialist, which kind of makes sense. He's an Inquisitor, right? So for him, he has that. And if you build him into what I would say what is natural to him, it's going to be really getting a lot of the buffs from the biomancy. And then for him, as far as stats go, have some toughness, but again, your magic is going to be able to buff that up with Iron Arm, for example. You'll see here you can get plus 30 strength and toughness as built out because he has 100 willpower. So this is going to turn into an 80, and his strength is going to be 75. He's nice and juiced out in this version. So really pumping some weapon skill, as much willpower as you can, and toughness makes him decently tanky. And then I would say for him, Again, if you want to make him your lore Xeno specialist, you definitely can. Otherwise, I just pumped Karus just so he can be a little more tanky. And he really is a very good kind of support psyker. He's going to be able to tank front line. Giving him the ability to wear heavy armor is going to be a big deal. Now, also, I want to point out his flagship post abilities. He does buff strafe and also buffs shallow jump. The shallow jump is in the same tree as lower warp, interestingly enough. So I don't know how effectively you would utilize them. In order to build them in a way to take advantage of either of these two, it may be a little trickier. Now, as far as active abilities, similar to any warrior, he's going to have the advantage of charge being super powerful, daring breach being one of the best heroic abilities. So this is why you do want that melee element there. And I will say his origin talent, Word of the Emperor, is busted. So as you can see this, you can use this. It's got a 1-round cooldown. All allies in a circle within 5-cell radius gain +6 resolve until the end of combat. And then every additional stack of this effect increases the resolve by +2. So for 1 AP, you can keep buffing the resolve of your group if they kind of stick close together by insane amounts. Now, if you're not already using some of the tactics, like the video I'll be making on how to basically clear 95% of encounters in 1 round, if you're actually lasting more than 1 round, this can really stack that resolve. And remember, resolve is kind of like your morale. When it gets high, you can use your heroic abilities like breach. So again, this right here makes him, honestly. Now let's take a look at how I equipped him. So I do like having a dual setup for him, and starting with a really good staff. He already starts with a siphon-like staff, but later on you can get this puppy. It gives you 10 willpower and +2 psi rating, which is insane. So when he's equipped, he already has a psi rating of 5, and you can eventually get 6. It does make him bleed himself, but who cares? You can heal like a monster, and this is a level 13 power ability. So you can basically utilize Siphon Life, and there's ways to upgrade. It's pretty nutty. It's really, really fun. And then when you want to go and kind of dual wield on him, you can use a Force Sword, and then just have a secondary sword that will give you extra parry, extra debuffs when hit, etc. So you can swap between those two. Yeah, I definitely got him to wear heavy armor, and I got this heavy Xeno Mash, which is great because not only does it have 7 deflection base, but against non-humans, which are the majority of high-end enemies, it gives you +2 more. That's really good combo. I leaned, in this case, I gave him a +2 hit and crit chance helmet because he wasn't in part of my main group, but you can build however you want with him. I gave him some extra toughness because his intelligence could be a little lower. And then an AoE kind of, again, I use an amulet here to buff the rest of the team. And then finally, the ability to remove bleeding automatically, which is hilarious because you can gain bleed and then instantly lose it with saturated cape whenever you use endure, which you can pretty much use every round as an ability. And then this is interesting. You can do this to just a bonus to help with your charge abilities. So he's an interesting character. Overall, reviewing him, as far as performance goes, he's not going to have the best melee. He's not going to have the best range. He's not going to be the best of anything, except potentially he can buff the group's resolve by the most. And if an encounter does take 2, 3, or 4 rounds, for example, you can make it where you're just basically maxing out the amount of heroic abilities that you can utilize. You can also heal everybody, support everybody. It's tanky enough as is. So again, for the most, very balanced as a psyker, especially if you build them in this kind of defensive manner. All right, guys, next we're going to review Jay. And boy, do I love me some Jay. This is female Han Solo. She is such a badass. And if you build her the way I'm going to show you here as a general overview, she's so amazingly powerful. You combine her with Cassia, and you have the ultimate double team that basically will allow you to clear any encounter. I'd say 95% of the encounters in one round, probably. I'll make a video about that as well. But what is she? She's an iconoclast. She is amazing. Archetype-wise, she starts as an officer, and you do get to choose her second archetype, but Grand Strategist is where it's at. Just amazing. I'll go over that in just a second. But she has some origin features that are also really, really good that make her just absolutely amazing. So right off the bat, she's a humanoid, but she's got a Dali weapon of proficiency and Drukai weapon proficiencies. And spoiler alert, but alien weapons are so much better in 95% of the situations than human-made weapons. They are just deadlier, higher damage. They're just nasty. So having access to these is a huge game changer. Now, Gunslinger, also amazing. So she can dual attack with weapons, so dual wield, and not have to pay extra AP for that. Very, very nice. Never Play Fair is a game changer that makes her a literal skill monkey for you. You can basically use intelligence or fellowship when it comes to intelligence-based skills, whichever's higher. And she can reroll failed commerce tests. So that's really, really nice. And I'm assuming if you have advanced commerce, you get one more. So you can get 2 rerolls. So look what this translates to. Because you can basically use fellowship for everything, I've got her as my tech use person. She's my second best persuasion. I do use Cassia for persuasion. But she's also my lower Imperium and my commerce specialist, with putting almost no effort into that. So this right there is just amazing. But wait, there's more. Cold Trader's acumen has got to be the most ridiculous, most overpowered origin talent that just keeps on giving. Do you guys notice how this character has 77% armor, unbuffed, and 82% dodge, kind of unbuffed? Yeah, me too. And that's because Cold Trader's acumen, check this out. Her reputation level grants her additional bonuses. So for the Drushians, you get a plus reputation level to all resistance tests and 2 times reputation level to Lower Imperium. Hence why Lower Imperium is so high. For Explorants, you get a plus reputation percentage to armor and 2 times reputation level to tech use. So both of those are huge. Because remember, there's like, I think on some of them I have like 10, 11, 12, level 10, 11, 12 of these reputations. So again, 20 some to tech, 10, 15 plus to armor. Yes, thank you, please. Casabilica's mission, plus reputation percentage to dodge and parry, and a 2 times reputation level to commerce. Yes. Can we say super tanky, super dodgy? Fellowship of the Void, plus reputation to critical hit chance, and 2-time reputation to coercion. I didn't even talk about coercion, but notice just without even trying, and I put no points into leveling into that, she's got a coercion of 94. That's disgusting. It doesn't show her critical hit chance here, but it's really high too. And then Imperial Navy, plus reputation level to cover efficiency and persuasion. So as you up your reputation, she just gets more and more powerful in so many ways. Nobody else can do this on your team. She is amazing. Unless you got something against her character and you're not picking her for RP reasons, she needs to be in your party. She is that good, that versatile. Now you'll notice I did do basic and advanced commerce skill, basic advanced tech. That's something I always recommend. If they're going to specialize in anything for you, you should pick those up, not just for the points, but for the extra rerolls on the tests. And then the other thing I want to point out is because she's going to be a grand strategist, you can use her combo with Cassia to really control the battlefield and buff those specific regions. Stronghold Stratagem is absolutely great. And you combine that with, Combat Locus Stratagem. This basically makes you double bonuses in just one area. And you combine it with something like this that makes you super defensive. You can just stick your whole party on turn one in one little area that's super defensive and also offensive and just destroy everything while just standing there. This is also kind of a fun one to play with. If you need to get around a really big map, you can use this to kind of, because you can technically plant these combat kind of areas that are part of features for her all over the place. And then you can use Blitz stratagem to help move between the little sections super, super quickly. When I do a video on her build, I'll have a whole section how to strategize that. Just know that area control with her is absolutely amazing. And then utilizing Finest Hour to really buff up other characters that are going to be kind of your carries is big. But she's also not useless as a combatant. I'll show you how you can equip her really effectively right now. So here she is, and again, because of the weapon she can use, what I like to do with her is I gave her a Desolation Blast Pistol. Yeah, that's real damage there for a one-hander with 75% armor piercing, and yes, it does a crazy straight line attack and adds melting. And then I did Agonizing Splinter Pistol for her right now, but I believe I also have another better option that I recently found. Maybe it was a different save here. But you could use, there it is, the fusion gun. I really like this as well. So I think this is the one I was using more recently. And it's quite good for some reason. Yeah, so that's a pretty decent one. Or the other one if you want to apply the poisons. But the point is you have these high penetration last pistols that again you have to have like alien weapon access for. But then her melee weapons are arguably even crazier. So she can use, this is the Jin Blade of thou, which I cannot pronounce, Yrliet. But again, look at this base damage, 28 to 38, 25% penetration for one-handed. And then you have Sharp and Venom Blade, which you're going to get 1,000,000 of, 31 to 41 damage, 15% armor penetration, especially as against things that don't have crazy armor. This combination just melts through them like butter. And if you have armor penetration stuff, again, you can utilize the 2 pistols at range. Then it gets even nuttier. You can give her the Helm of Determination because she is an iconoclast. And all of a sudden, you get armor percentage equal to 2 times your Fel bonus. And your Fellowship is going to be quite good. And you also gain bonus to Fellowship equal to 2 times iconoclast rank. So that's not bad. There's the Duelist uniform is pretty much meant for her. As you can see, if you equip 2 pistols, like we do here, what's amazing about that, it's going to get plus 10 ballista skill and 10% to hit. Do not, once you're above 100% to hit, any overflow goes to crit. So yes, this is huge. And your base armor property plus 15% dodge if your ballistic skill is more than 70. And again, I have 70 here, so this is really, really good. Now, as far as support stuff, I love this pair holster once per turn when you score a critical hit, which is all the time, with a pistol. Next attack with a pistol costs 0 AP. And the other one I like, in this case, I just got a bonus to lower Imperium, but you can do whatever you want on it. For the neck piece, you can put if only one of your wearer's combat tactic here is active in combat, you get 20 intelligence and fellowship, which is basically 20 fellowship. As I mentioned, you have that tactic combination where you just supercharge one combat area. And then for gloves, 10 ballistic and 25% crit damage. You're going to be critting all the time. And then plus 5 fellowship to each enemy within 2 cell radius. You could get better than this, but this is just another way to get fellowship. You're likely to be in melee or close to other people. And then I like this defensive boots. If you didn't spend MP during your turn, you double the cover efficiency and half cover until the end of wearer's next turn. So if you're in a rough spot, you can just, buff your other characters, give them attacks, and then get more defense. So she is, again, amazing support. She becomes oddly tanky. The only thing she's missing is deflection scores. But she can do melee, she could do range, she can support. She is amazing. She is great at a ton of skills. Need I say more? I think I'm going to have talked about her more than anybody else I've reviewed, but she is just great. Lots of different ways to build her out. You'll notice on the stats, it's mainly fellowship. I got some willpower kind of for defense that was in there. And then really just you split between weapon skill and ballistic skill for the most part. She's got a lot of natural bonuses. Naturally 35 strength, toughness, agility. You can buff her agility, but you don't need it for initiation, because the final thing I want to point out, because she's a grand strategist, she gets to go first. And the game seems to be a little random. If you have both her and Cassia as grand strategists, one will sometimes go first, sometimes the other, but they both get to go before any other enemies. That's what also makes her godly. The two of them being able to manipulate the whole battlefield so easily and always go first, super powerful. So yeah, SSS rating. All right, guys. Next we have the Eldari sniper. I really don't want to mispronounce her name for like the 18th time, but Yrliet? Okay. Her. And I'm going to say right off the bat, she is so good and she is so annoying. Her character, her personality is so abrasive. And I guess that means they did the Eldari right, because the Eldari are the space elves. They've been around for thousands of years. We're just primitive, little pathetic humans. We don't understand how the universe works. And she is abrasive. But I promised I wasn't going to judge based off personality. We're going to go based off performance. And when it comes to performance, she is a cold-blooded killer. And it's not because of her archetype. And instead, I'll explain why. I do want to point out that when it comes to the Xenos characters, they don't have any convictions. So 0 dogmatic, 0 heretical, 0 iconoclast. So for better or for worse, just how they are. I don't know if that's intended, if they're going to change that in the future or not, but it is what it is. She's meant to be, based off the tutorial, an operative bounty hunter. And yes, you can build a lot of characters to be operative bounty hunters, right? She's got superior stats starting out. That's great. She's meant to be ballistic. Perception's going to be high. Agility is going to be good with her. She is meant to be your lore Xenos person, I believe. But really, it comes down to her features and the fact that you can get her so early in the game that make her as amazing as she is. So I've talked about the different classes and abilities already. I will say when it comes to archetypes, the operative, the special ability for it is kind of weak. Dismantling attack is not great. Wild Hunt is decent, but really you're just going to be using Finest Hour on her. If you're following this review from beginning to end, you may have noticed that there's 2 officers that are grand strategists that I speak very highly of. If they're both in her party, you just literally take turns busting out Finest Hour, and you should be able to do it twice in the first turn if you do everything correctly, and she will clear the whole map. And I know I've been building up to this, but the reason for all this is very simple. Eldari weapon proficiency. And I'll show you in just a second, but the reality is Eldari weapons are just superior to human weapons. The sniper weapon does so much more damage, even without fully min-maxing, single shots, even in the 30s before you hit an exemplar and get the overpowered buffs, etc. You can easily be hitting 100 plus damage per hit, crits that are just insane, and just one-shotting or two-shotting the majority of content that isn't a boss. So that's absolutely amazing. She does get the Children of Assyrian. It's interesting, allows you to, no matter what, you can advance agility, perception, and awareness, but you can do it anyway with her class as is. And it's interesting they say class here. That must be old text, because they did change it to archetypes from class officially. But she gets 15% dodge and +2 initiative. That's great. She does have a very unique ability called In My Sight, which you will probably never have to use because you're never going to get to turn 2 once you set things up. But if you aren't doing that, this is kind of nice. basically you use this towards the end of the turn, and then on your next turn, as long as they're still in line of sight, you can 100% chance to hit, and you can buff this in various ways. That's pretty cool. Do also want to point out she does have Drukari weapon proficiency too. I meant to mention those together. That is important because it just all alien weapons tend to be pretty amazing. I do again recommend building her with basic and advanced skill or Xenos to make her your Xenos specialist if you're not going to use the Sir Heinrix over here. Her 2 flagship post abilities: instant control for torpedo control, and she can also be your vulnerability scan specialist. But again, you'd have to go high in lower warp, so it's much easier to go down the torpedo route with her if you want to utilize those. So I'm not talking too much about her. You know, it's natural that analyze enemies to stack exploits and everything around that is great. You're gonna want to basically just find one spot with her and snipe from there. So you can put perfect spot on there early on and just never ever move her. That's the big thing for her. And as I mentioned, everything comes down to gear with her and the fact that she gets access to things that nobody else does. Now, the annoying thing is there's just a lot of stuff she can't wear. So if it's not alien, she can't use human equipment. That I never quite understood. So why she wouldn't be able to wear more primitive armor? Maybe it just doesn't fit. You also can't use the majority of boots, for example, and gloves. I literally don't have a single pair of gloves that's useful to her, or boots. That's why they're not equipped there. But it's okay because you can get godly weapons. And if you can get Eye of Hecaton early on, this sniper with 30 dodge reduction plus 20 additional to hit, it has 10 ammo, which is the key. Sniper with high ammo, 35% armor penetration, 30 to 45 damage base. Oof, oof, so good. You're never going to need to use Deadeye. Just use single shots. And this rifle has 100% over penetration. So if you can line up enemies, you can kill 2 or more enemies at a time. And then the secret here is have a second sniper rifle. Now I actually need to get one in here that's got more ammo, because the whole idea is you're going to just run out of ammo before you do actions and attacks when you play her correctly. So if you can get 2 sniper rifles that are really good and have, 10 and 10 ammo or close to that, we're talking anywhere between 15 and 20 attacks in one round if you do that correctly. So again, I will have a video all about that. Now, other equipment again here increases the chance to hit targets at range 10 a further 20%. And remember, if you're over 100%, it overflows into crit. So this is pretty much 20% to crit. Ranger armor is what I have for her. Nothing super special. I'm sure there's better in the game. But she's got 110% dodge as is. Really good. You don't want her getting hit. Armor's decent. 40 for light is pretty solid. Beads of concentration, so good for her. The wearer gains an additional 1 AP for each consecutive turn that wearer has not spent MP. Stacks up to 5 times. Now again, you are likely to wipe out the whole map in one turn. But if you don't, for every turn you keep going, she's going to have more and more AP to use. Really, really good. I love this. Hypnotizing pendant. When the wearer hits successfully with a single shot, which will be always the target suffers slowed until the wearer's next turn. There's a million things you could get here. Potentially, there's not, unfortunately, as many options as a normal character, but slowed is good. So if something is surviving, this debuff is nice. Also here, Litany of Exhaustion. Love this. Any hit with the wearer's single attack inflicts +1 stacks of fatigue, disturbed, and perplexed for 2 rounds if the target fails an agility test. And I believe there's a gun that I'm using. Is it this one? There's basically different guns in different ways to get these debuffs. And if you do, this just gets another stack. Do note, as far as I understand, this does not give you those stacks. You need to be able to produce them through abilities or weapons, etc. So keep that in mind. And then I got just the Phantom Cloak for her. I didn't have anything better that she could physically equip, but just basically anything to buff her defense, make her a little more survivable, because she can be squishy if she does get hit. But again, the combination of weapons and who she is just makes her melt. Again, unless you have an RP reason not to have her, or you lose her because of stupid decisions in the story. Um, Outside of that, get her in your group. I think she's got the potential to be the best sniper in the game, the highest DPS if done right. All right, now let's try to decide what order to take these next two characters. Do note they're both from Act 3, and you can totally miss both of them. Well, unless if you're going heretical, I guess you could, in a way, I think you could miss him. I'm playing heretical, so it's very natural to get him. And I want to save probably my favorite for last. So that's why this guy's going first here. This is Marazhai. He is a Xenos. That's why he doesn't have a preference for any of the convictions. And he is a warrior assassin. You cannot change that. The assassin archetype is decent. I found it the least fun, I guess. The whole mechanic with having weak points randomly, not as fun for me. But he is an interesting character. I'll say right off the bat, he's not one of my, even though thematically and look-wise, he's one of my favorite. Feature-wise, he's not quite as fun as I want him to be, but I don't think I have him quite figured out. So this review is a little tentative. He does have really quite good stats overall. He's meant to be very agile, huge weapon skills. He actually starts with quite decent strength, if I remember. I want to say 35 before I leveled him up, but he's a little squishy. With that being said, you're still going to be able to get really high dodge and armor on him because of some of his features. Now, let's take a look at his talents and what he starts with. He does have some original stuff. He does have Drukhari equipment and Drukhari weapon proficiency. So he doesn't have the Eldar access similar to our previous character. So he has access to some very powerful abilities. And then he does have dueling mastery, combat. I think I actually chose these two. I don't think he comes with it. But he does have these three elements that are unique. So power from pain is very interesting. So you gain +3 strength and +3 willpower and 1 temporary wound for each creature suffering burning, bleeding, stunned, or poison effects in a 5-cell radius. This is passive. So if you can spread those effects, this can add up. And then Shroud of Pain. So you deal strength bonus rending damage to yourself and start bleeding. But while you're bleeding, you get +3 resolve. And this is weird because this means that the lower your strength, the less this is going to hurt you. But you want high strength if you're going to be a melee build. But it kind of makes sense. Druki like to torture others and themselves. And then, for example, this is where it all comes together. Prey on the weak. While he is bleeding, every kill he makes grants him a stacking +5 bonus to weapon skill and ballistic skill. So if you go on a killing frenzy against weak enemies, you can buff your weapon skill, even ballistic skill, very, very quickly. And that's important because, again, he is a warrior. So one really good strategy with him is quite literally to just do your breach ability, the daring breach, and then run around, make sure that's buffed up so that you can just have an infinite amount of attacks and movements and kill 3, 4, 5, 6 enemies, and all of a sudden your weapon skill is over 100 and you're a deadly killing machine. And then, of course, spreading bleed on other enemies will also increase the stat as well. So that combination is very interesting. Again, do be careful that his toughness is naturally kind of weak. Now, the Assassin archetype, again, I'm not as huge of a fan of it, although it has some interesting things. The Death Whisper attack is pretty interesting. You can utilize like elusive shadows to make it so that he can be more dodgy and do more damage. At the same time, keep people off of him. So unlike other frontline warriors that want aggro, he doesn't. Also, what's kind of weird with him, and I don't know if this is intended or not, or if it's a bug, but notice he doesn't have any buffs to any of the abilities on your ship. So it is what it is. Again, wouldn't be surprised if I find out that's a bug after I post this video. And then let's take a look at his equipment, which is kind of interesting. Again, he's limited in the equipment he can wear. So you're going to notice you may have situations where you just have nothing to give him in certain spots. But the weapons he can use, oh boy, are they fun. So for example, here I have this Bloodseeker Clave, which has a huge, big area effect, decent damage, high armor penetration. And then remember how I said it's all about making things bleed? Well, how about a serrated Glimmer Steel Blade, where when you attack, you can basically just stack bleeds on enemies. And again, if you want to build him into be ballistic for this combination, he's got the buff as you kill things, your ballistic will go up. But if you build him a little different than I did here, you can take advantage of some really cool Druki weapon, like this Deadshot Splinter Rifle. If you take a look at this, look at that, 16 max ammo. It's got a rate of fire of 6, but unlike most rapid fire weapons that have like single digit to 10 or 11 damage, this has 25 to 35 damage base with decent armor penetration. It's really, really nice for the toxic burst. Has a toxic shot, but it can also do Deadeye. And if you use Deadeye, you do additional damage based on your ballistic score plus target's toxic power. So, yeah, very, very cool weapons. He's got the potential to be very deadly and, interestingly enough, at ranged as well as melee. You just may have to buff him up a little bit more. I'm still getting a hang of him, but he definitely has potential to be quite deadly. Armor of Despair is amazing. I love this armor. All enemies in combat, so for minus 10 weapon skill and ballistic skill, just baseline. And it's a medium armor, 50% armor, and plus 15% armor against human enemies. Just great. Love it. And then I just gave him some items to up his corrose and make him immune to energy damage. Here, whenever the wearer is the target of attack of opportunity, you blind the other person. Sounds like a Druki thing to do. And grants the wearer plus 10 parry and 10% area attack damage. Remember, the Bloodseeker Clave has a big AoE cleave, which is really nice. And then pack of regents instead of a backpack. This is great. So this set of chemical regents increases the damage of all bleeding, burning, and toxic effects by +2. So you can bleed with your melee weapon, toxic with the gun. Really fun combination. So again, if you're not going evil, you're not going to like the way this guy talks and acts. He's really messed up. But if you want to be down with the sickness, he can be pretty fun. And I think you can build him out to be a really effective melee killing machine. Will it ever compete with a pure sniper? No, but that's okay. He's still really, really fun. And again, I like him. I like him a lot. The question is, will he fit into your build or not? I don't know. I don't. I guess the negative is outside of maybe athletics, I don't see very many specialties that I like him where he has any naturally huge advantages. But yeah, really cool character. And oh, Brothers of Leeroy. This guy just might as well be the new image for my t-shirt for Leeroy Gaming. I swear. Did I mention Ulfar is absolutely awesome? I mean, this guy is just absolutely sick. If I could make him my main character, I would. To say he's dogmatic is an understatement. This guy eats his foes so he can learn their secrets. He's a space marine. He takes up 4 spots on the map. Yeah, you heard me right. 4 spots like a tank. He is absolutely amazing. It is so sad and depressing that on this playthrough, I'm playing Heretical, and I'm pretty sure he's right about to like turn on me and abandon me, which is really depressing because this guy is so cool. And let's just go down to reasons why. First of all, did I mention this guy takes up 4 spaces? He can't even really go into cover, but people can treat him as cover when he's down. It's nutty. And he's got probably the wildest and widest amount of unique origin benefits that he gets automatically. So where do I even start? Well, actually, I want to start with his stats because I didn't even buff these. He starts with 70 base weapon skill and ballistic skill. Okay, this guy is an arc militant soldier. And if you saw my review the other day about poor Argenta, oh my goodness. He is Big Brother that just came by and just bitch smacked her off the pedestal. He is just so much better than her in every single way. He is everything. I know she's a different kind of character and different class, and he's like super roided out and like he's awesome. It just he makes her look so bad. Yes, she's got a couple origin things that make her a little bit more defensive, like against the warp or something. But let's be real, this guy's insane. Have you seen that strength score? Yeah, it's nuts. Have you seen that toughness score? Yeah, that's nuts. That's I even pumped in some agility for him so he can go low first. Have you seen his armor and dodge? This giant beast of a bulking man bull of awesomeness has 90 dodge while 75 armor and 6 deflection. He is the ultimate everything. Without being a tank class, he is crazy tanky. The fact that because of the Arc Militant versatility buff, this right here, you can get your weapon skill and ballistic skill in no time to above 100 on each. And we're not even done. We're not even really starting yet. Let's look at these origin talents. He gets plasma weapon proficiency, melta weapon proficiency, flame weapon proficiency. This is all for free. Heavy armor proficiency, power armor proficiency. You start with unique power armor for him. That's all you're gonna ever wear. He is an eternal warrior. This is hilarious. So if you should fall unconscious, and if he has, you're doing it wrong. You just stay inactive for 2 rounds. You can't target him, and he becomes full cover. And after 2 rounds, he comes back with 50% max life. Are you kidding me? This guy comes back from the dead. Yeah, he comes with Swift Hunter. He may use MP after attacking or using abilities. So for those that you don't know, the natural way of going is you can move, and if you attack, you give up all your other movement points. But no, he can do whatever he wants. He's from Fenris, which means he's just super awesome. He's got survival instincts. There's nothing special, but because he's Adaptus Astartes, it's a double-edged sword. So he gets all these cool abilities because of it. But I will say it also means he can't wear no more equipment and use normal weapons. He's got his own type of weapons. Let's keep going. I don't remember if I got this or it came automatically, but dual weapon combat just makes sense for him. He starts with Volta proficiency. As I mentioned, he has the Adeptus Astartes equipment. And then let's take a look. Where are they? Black Carapace. This is nuts. Removes all dodge penalties from power armor. That's like basically if you took dodge penalties off heavy armor. So you get all the benefits, as you're going to see in a second, of like amazing armor, but also you get all the dodge. It's broken. Poor Argenta has the version where, does it for medium armor. It's nothing. So good. These I already got just from leveling up or whatnot. But that combination, if it doesn't scream to you, he's OP, it is. On the ships, you can get buffs for strafe and buff for shield pulse. Yeah. Getting him to utilize, steady superiority if you have like a high firepower bolter, or firearm mastery is very good with him. Or you could technically also qualify him as a killing machine with finest hour. If you don't want to use it on your sniper. Also, he's got go for the throat. So this is like a supercharge. So Ulfar immediately moves to the target, ignoring attack of opportunity, and performs a single melee attack. And it has a big ass crit damage boost. So yeah, that he gets just naturally because he's awesome. Now let's take a look at the equipment. Again, he's got very unique equipment, so he's gonna look kind of under-equipped, but he gets his power armor, 65% armor deflection. Remember, you don't have to deal with that dodge penalty. Oh, and he gives him plus 20 strength base. You get this automatically when you unlock him from his prison. I gave him bayonet knife, so even when I use melee, it just causes bleed, which is awesome and fun. He starts with the Theres bolt pistol, which is a perfectly fine pistol, but his combat knife is amazing. So if an attack with the knife kills a target, Wielder restores 1 AP and can make an additional attack with the knife. So yes, please. Very, very good. If you have something weak, just finishing off enemies and getting extra attacks, extra AP, it's amazing. He also gets a special bolter. This is a very good bolter because, as you'll notice, it's got a decent rate of fire, decent amount of ammo, but the base damage is really high of armor penetration. You can get feats that will improve this even better. So, and again, it's unique to his style. He doesn't use normal bolters. I gave him this for the defensive Kata, mainly because, again, he can't wear most equipment. It's hilarious that I gave him Shadow Field because he runs around and is in full cover from ranged attacks, even while being forced spaces and out in the open. Do this. It's hilarious. And then he gets its own special cloak called the Wolf Pelt Cloak, plus 10% armor. And as long as the wearer has performed both melee and ranged attacks this turn, every enemy in a 5-cell radius that is smaller than the wearer, which meaning takes up 1 space, suffers +1 stacks of perplexed. And this is what perplexed is, by the way. -10 to ballistic skill, weapon skill, intelligence, or perception. Yeah, it's really quite good. And check out that cloak. Did I mention he looks amazing? So, yeah. By far my favorite character in the game. You don't get him till Act 3. Make sure when you're in the little prison area, don't miss him. I literally missed him the first time I played. I didn't move the camera, and you can run by him constantly and not even notice him there. He's just really cool. You can make him your main damage carry. You can just make him your tank. I like to just throw him out in the center so that everybody tries to target him, and then just see a bunch of 0 damage zipping by. This is almost like a meme, and I love the fact that Owlcat Games allowed a broken character like this to be in the game. And I'm really sad that I'm going to have to kill him. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this second review video. Again, make sure to check out the first one if you haven't. Drop a like, subscribe, let me know your thoughts on these characters. I cannot wait to make some really fun builds when I get a little bit more equipment with min-maxed equipment as well for you guys. Do let me know in the comments who you would like to see a build for first, and I'll keep track of that. That being said, thank you for all your support, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.